Hello everybody and welcome back to another video where I am detailing a Lima DMU. I mean, if the title didn't give it away, I could say, ooh, guess what DMU it is, because this was filmed from the window with a very similar one, but I've already put in the title, haven't I? Anyway, shall we just get into it? And here is the model as I bought it. I bought it second hand on eBay. And it's already been DCC fitted as well as fitted with various different pipe works. I also believe these buffers might also be replacement as well. Looks loads more realistic than the original did, but I want to weather it and detail up that little bit more. I'm going to use this to represent something that's towards the end of its operational life, quite heavily weathered. I'll put some videos in just after this of the research that I took while I was at the East Lancs to kind of see what these look like when they're preserved, and also kind of like where weathering begins to come in with these. But for the moment, that is the start of our project. So here are some stills from the preserved 122 at the East Lancs Railway. Lovely bloke who was driving it this day. I believe he was part of the Class 40 preservation group. Anyway, lovely bloke. I asked loads of questions of him and he was really nice. How sick is this, right? It took me ages to work out what it was. Do you know what it is? Ashtray. I asked someone. Never used an ashtray in my whole life. Anyway, kind of took some inspiration from the underframe for what bits get painted, what bits get rusty as well. This is where the roof sill kind of comes in, and you'll kind of see that's something I build into it later on. But you can see, overall, I quite like seeing preserved stuff like this. It's a little bit scruffy. I like it. I know some people don't, but I like the slightly scruffy nature of it because it gives me ideas, which I then carried through into the model. You can see I've painted some of the exhaust pipes, maybe some sort of metal piping with a silver colour, and I'm just going to go over it along with some other boxes and things I saw in a metallic colour on the preserved one with a rust tone. Now you can see here that the 122 at the East Lancs has actually had a repaint since last time that I saw it. So this is it in a new state, not particularly relevant, but I think it's quite a cool picture, and I suppose it's natural that preserved stuff gets repainted at some point in time, but I do quite enjoy seeing slightly scrappy stuff. So now I'm using the pictures of the roof, especially like on this front view, to inspire my weathering of the Lima 121. Okay, so I've given most of the roof a spray with like a grey primary sort of thing, just to try and get like a basey sort of tone. You can see that I've gone really patchy with it. I've got certain bits of masking tape that I've kind of taped up to the sides and what have you. So we're just going to pull off the last little bit across the front here. Yeah, it's just trying to get a base layer of grubbiness for the roof, and kind of work from there. I do it for a lot of coaching stock, so it kind of makes sense to do. More weathering's been done, mainly focused on the roof, and then just beginning to add a little bit of grubbiness to the sides. I know these things went through carriage washes and whatever, but on long days I imagine they weren't too clean. So, and again, taking inspiration from that one that was at Bury on the East Lancs, a little bit of streaking just coming through, nice and dirty. Needs a bit of tidying up, but decent so far, I reckon. Thought I'd do a little Blue Peter. This is how I did it. Just adding a streak of this not black, it's a rail match weathered grey, across the top, a little bit watered down, and then I just use a cotton bud just to encourage the paint down. Really important to do them vertically, but yeah, streaking really gently comes in. Not got massive experience weathering the BR grey, but it takes this darker tone really quite well. Yeah, really light dusting. You can see how little paint gets really far and how faint it can become, which is really useful. Another little bit of weathering I'm doing, just adding a little bit of rust, and just as if the rust patch is on the top, and we're just going to streak some of it down. I appreciate in service these probably won't have got too rusty, but it's just nice to have a little nod to it there. We've got a little bit there and a little bit just over the exhaust stacks coming out there. Pick out a couple more bits on the roof and then pretty happy with it, I reckon. Just need a bit more blending from this. This little bit is for somebody on Instagram who asked me recently how I blended rust in. So it's really simple. I've just applied this newer tone, rust tone, if you see compared to the older rust there, just with a brush that's a bit wet, and then I'm just going to take the end of a cotton bud and just dab it out. It just blends everything together a little bit. And towards the end I can just begin to bring in a little bit of streaking. Yeah, that's basically how we do it. Couple of rust spots have been added to the roof, just mix up the longer tones, long flat bits. Yeah, appreciate it's probably a little bit heavy for the roof, but I'm depicting it towards the end of its service life and well out of overhaul. I also did some sort of action, but with a blue acrylic, just to kind of get a bit of blue discoloration again, like the one that I saw at Berry. And again, using some rust tones. This is a slightly brighter rust tone than the one that I've used previously, as if it's slightly newer rust bleeding through. This is actually on a brush that I've cut a couple of the bristles off, just to have a bit more of a point to it. But yeah, again, the whole point of this is that it's slightly gross to look at, and that's the vibe that I wanted for this. And I think it's got that. Sat on anywhere's road, this loco makes sense, I think. The little nuances of the different rust patching on the top, the streaking, the blue weathering on the sides and things like that. I think it looks at home, it fits this rundown vibe that I want. And I quite like it's quite juxtaposition to getting something out of the box into. None of the weathering in this is particularly clever or smart, but I think it's come together to be quite effective. At the end of the day, I wanted something that looked like it was at the end of its current life. This would obviously go in for a repaint and last a little bit longer into regional railway service, but that inspiration coming from the 122 at Berry has just helped so much with this project. Seeing what the real ones were like around the sills and things and how ratty they could get, just helped inspire this so much. And it fits into this rundown Holt layout that I built around it. Link in the description below for that video. But it links into that really well. And yeah, I'm quite happy with it. So yeah, what did you think? What do you think of the model and the video itself? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you next week with a completely different video. Right, I'll catch you later.